To battle! At your service, my lord. For glory! Die! battle! Out of my way! To battle! Out of my way! That was way too easy! To battle! At your service, my lord. You summoned me? Wake me up when the battle starts. Wake me up when the battle starts. For glory! Die! At your service, my lord. For glory! We have defeated an enemy leader. Justice has been served! careful.
You ready? Get to your posts now!
Lại Honda, không lo về giá, lãi suất hấp dẫn từ 0,99%.
Welcome to Monster Hunter World. Wait a second. There we go. Okay, cool. Who's in windowed mode? Anyway, as much as mine is, but it's still for the Pookie Pookie. And we are heading deeper into the forest. I'm not sure if I'll be able to the weapon at hand. So, draw weapon is control, but sheath weapon is not control. Control is now morph. Okay. Oh, crap. Jesus. I'm taking a lot of damage. I've only got a couple more potions, and I don't think I have enough materials to craft more. Not on me, anyway. I could probably search around the forest, but my point is, I need to be more careful about my damage. Speaking of which, it's time to heal up. I love that run. It's not a cool run, it's I gotta get the hell out of here run. Which is appropriate, considering that we're trying to kill a giant chameleon parrot raptor monster. Alright, let's take a look at what I've got here. So, combos, thrusts, fade slash. Alright, didn't know that one. This is the first time I'm using this enormous katana, and I don't know any of the combos. I'm hoping the combos in the upper right-hand corner are, complete. I doubt that's a complete list of... Ooh, honey. We can use that to make a max potion. If we already have a potion, we can turn it into a max potion. Which I may as well do now. Depending on how many potions I have. So... So, my performance here is a little better than in the forest. Obviously, there's, crap! There's just less going on. And that's probably why it looks better as well. The leaves and the trees just don't have quite as much detail as you would expect them to have.
An herbivore native to this region. Wait, why are they running?
They look scared.
See, when Apseros feel threatened, they assume a defensive posture.
Whatever's out there, it could be a danger to us too. We have to be careful. Finally, I thought we'd never get here.
Amazing.
Glorious.
I don't know if they still need me to defend them, but they're at their location.
What a magnificent
I've just been over here dicking around looking at the... Ooh. Now those do look nice.
Keep it up.
What engine is this?
The evidence. evidence is within sight. You've done a fine job, Hunter.
That's actually kind of funny. I've done a terrible job. I don't even know where these guys are. Oh, I didn't even know I could capture this guy. I'm gonna sound like a pacifist, but I would rather capture him than kill him because I am in his world. This is his world, not mine. That's what always bugs me when I watch sci-fi movies where they go to an alien planet and they're like, what the fuck? These aliens are attacking us. Yeah, you're trespassing in their world. It's totally within their rights. Don't be mad at them. Obviously, it would be nice if they could open up a discussion, but that's not exactly realistic. That's why I love Star Trek so much. They actually acknowledge questions like that. Like Picard in The Next Generation, there was this crystal creature that was eating worlds, it was devouring worlds, and Picard refused to kill it because the creature was just, it wasn't inherently evil, it was just hungry. We were just animals or insects to it. You know? It's not like it was murder or something. Oh, my weapon needs to be sharpened, I just realized. We're so close to the unknown. So, I'm hitting... I may as well sharpen it now because I'm not... Oh, God! No, I regret this! Oh! I'm not really doing any damage. Part of the reason is because my blade is dull, but I think another reason is I'm not really hitting his tail. I'm trying to aim for the tail, but if I aim up, if I aim down, it seems like I still do the same animation. Great, he's distracted. Thank you, Cat Slave. It's more like Dark Souls in that way, less like something like God of War, which is something you may not be able to tell from the gameplay, just the footage, if you're new to this. It plays like an MMO, and more like something like Bloodborne. It's not a hack and slash is what I'm trying to say. It's definitely not a hack and slash. It's more methodical, it's more based around strategy and timing. It's kind of like a fighting game. It's a 3D fighting game. So it's not for everybody, but that, of course, doesn't mean it's a bad game. Some people think that does mean it's a bad game if it's not for them. That always bugs me. And some people assume that I'm saying it's a bad game because of that. I'm not saying that at all.
Động lực number one cho bạn thật tỉnh táo, tăng thêm sức mạnh.
Good morning, everyone. This is Shepard here with a world exclusive. Our hunters, who I'll be introducing shortly. The nice thing about the demo was we did actually get an opportunity to kind of figure out where the go. With me are a couple other hunters. Hot Sammy Sliz, he's using a longsword. Kogath from the wiki is using the greatsword, and Omnitoad, I believe, is using the gunlance. Now, one thing I'll have to say straight away throughout this entire fight, this is our maybe second or third go at playing the game at all ever. So the controls are switched around a little bit. Of course, with like native PlayStation 4 controllers, there are a lot more buttons to use. So there are certain inputs that we're doing that you might look at and say, wow, like, that's not what I would do in this situation. I will say the game feels great once you get used to it, but especially in the beginning here, as we're still just figuring out the weapons for the first time, we get beat up. So you can see right off the bat, I get into a pretty tough place. I want to heal, so I'm scrolling through all my different materials. I see, oh, there's a Mega Potion. And the healing actually happens pretty quickly, but you'll see now that it actually doesn't go up instantly. It's a gradual recovery, so that's kind of like a little bit of a balancing technique, I think, between the fact that you can now move while consuming potions. And I pretty quickly figure out that I think the highest damage combo with the bow and arrow is doing the level 2 shot, followed by the power shot, followed by this dragon shot. The biggest challenge though with that, of course, is it really does lock you into place as you're charging up that final shot there. And if you miss it, you of course will have a lot of ways to damage. But if you hit it, you'll see I'm doing a ton of 20 and 25 damage whenever that lands. Something else you'll notice with the bow is you'll see that reticle there. When it's fully lit up, you are within a critical distance.
a brilliant intellect such as mine.
Peggy 16.
Welcome to the Monster Hunter World Technical Weapons Series. Switch Axe. The adaptable Switch Axe can transform between a long-reaching axe and a swift sword. Wreak havoc in axe mode and then unleash the sword's element discharge for a devastating blow to your target. Charge Blade. Incredibly versatile, the Charge Blade can morph from a sword and shield combo into a high-powered axe. The key is to use the sword and shield combo to store energy and release its destructive force in axe mode. Insect Glaive. The Insect Glaive is a weapon for those who like to take their fight to the skies. Boasting incredible mobility, the Insect Glaive enables aerial assaults from all angles. Combined with the use of Kinsects to receive boosts, the Glaive is a formidable choice of weaponry. Hunting Horn. The heroic Hunting Horn allows you to perform stat boosting melodies for you and your fellow hunters. But don't take this support weapon for granted, it still packs a mighty punch. Bow. The bow is an elegant, agile weapon that allows you to rain down an array of arrows upon your prey. Applying coatings to your arrows will allow you to inflict various status ailments to your winged-tipped terrors. Welcome to the Monster Hunter World Heavy Weapons Series. Greatsword. Ye old faithful. What the Greatsword lacks in mobility, it certainly makes up with earth-shattering damage. Its excellent range and charged slashes can deal devastating blows to any monster. Hammer. Blunt, weighty and savage, the hammer is an excellent choice for those who want to wallop some monsters. Bludgeon monsters over the head to stun them, allowing you to follow up with brutal blows. Absolutely smashing. Lance. The Lance, a stout and stoic weapon boasting strong offensive and defensive capabilities. Keeping your guard up while moving allows you to counter with deadly thrust attacks. Gun Lance. Ah, the gun lance. Like its cousin, this weapon is a force to be reckoned with its ability to fire off bone-breaking shells to blast a monster. Heavy bowgun. For a trade-off in mobility, the heavy bowgun is capable of inflicting massive damage with its high-powered artillery. Be sure to take advantage of powerful ammo types such as Wyvern Snipe and Wyvern Heart.
Peggy 16.
Welcome to the Monster Hunter World Light Weapon Series. Sword and Shield. The Sword and Shield combo is an incredibly versatile and mobile weapon choice. Due to its nimble nature, you can still use healing items, traps, and your slinger whilst it's still drawn. Jewel Blades. The Jewel Blades can overwhelm monsters with a flurry of vicious attacks. Activating Demon Mode will unleash their true potential and bestow the ability to unleash a feral assault. Long Sword. The Long Sword is a swift, agile weapon capable of lengthy and extended combos. You can even raise your attack power by using the Spirit Blade and unleash this weapon's ultimate power. Light Bowgun. The Light Bowgun is a long-ranged weapon that specialises in high mobility and rapid fire. Armed with powerful Wyvern Blast, this weapon is a tried and tested means of supporting your hunting party.
Nước tăng lực number 1 cho bạn thật tỉnh táo, tăng thêm sức mạnh.
Welcome to Monster Hunter World. There are 14 distinct weapons in Monster Hunter World, and you're probably not going to love them all. This series prides itself in its uniquely different playstyles as dictated by your weapon choice, which means that certain weapons can actually handle like a whole different game. What works perfectly in the mind of one player could be incredibly encumbering for another. In this video I'm going to break down each weapon by what kind of overall damage output you can expect, the weapon's intended range, and overall role for your team. But most importantly, I'm going to give an example of another game or genre that each of these weapons either feels similar to, or its core concepts and tactics can be directly comparable. This should help outside players who are not familiar with Monster Hunter pinpoint a preferred playstyle and then assign it to a corresponding weapon. Sword and Shield. The Sword and Shield is a medium mobility, medium defense, medium attack style weapon that is not only a great all-around weapon for newcomers to start with, but also a reliable backup for high-level players. As we take a look at my very rough approximation of what kind of damage the Sword and Shield will provide across the average hunt, we see a very steady and easily maintainable flow of damage from the Sword and Shield. This weapon keeps you up in the fight very consistently and cuts down on lost time with item maintenance like healing. The Sword and Shield has a unique ability to actually use items while your weapon is drawn. This makes this a great pick for anyone who doesn't like the idea of constantly having to sheathe their weapon. The Sword and Shield's playstyle lends itself well to casual players of the Dark Souls series who prefer to have that balanced attack and defense capabilities and don't solely rely on their dodging prowess. This is also a great fit for anyone familiar with the Zelda series and are used to being locked onto a target with shield raised and attacking when the opportunity arises. The Sword and Shield is the go-to all-around weapon of Monster Hunter World. Sword and Shield is the go-to all-around weapon of Monster Hunter World. Longsword. The Longsword is a medium mobility, high damage, low defense style weapon that benefits from its wide-reaching attacks that can tear up the monster, but also has a high potential of smacking your teammates if not careful. This makes the Longsword a great weapon for beginners to practice with solo, but the skill gap between a novice and an expert with the Longsword will be very apparent when playing online. As we look at the damage chart, we see fairly high damage outputs that increase in power the more you charge up your weapon's spirit gauge, and then spikes of damage when performing this weapon's special attacks that extend the spirit gauge while increasing your weapon's overall damage. This means that Longsword users will benefit from consistent attacks early on, leading to higher damage output later in the hunt. The Longsword's playstyle might appeal to anyone familiar with Musou games like the Dynasty Warrior series. If you like the idea of a multitude of wide sweeping attacks that are building up to a devastating special attack that you will rinse and repeat, the Longsword is the weapon for you. Heavy Bowgun. The Heavy Bowgun is a low mobility, long range, medium damage weapon that keeps you out of harm's way as long as you don't get charged. The Heavy Bowgun uses multiple ammo types that can be switched out on the fly. This makes this weapon very versatile to a variety of playstyles. You can go all in with damage with artillery barrages and status ailments, or play a support role, sit back and shoot your teammates with health and damage boosts. The Heavy Bowgun has pretty consistent medium damage output with decent spikes of damage when your special ammo is charged that can lead into a full auto machine gun style attack or a super high damaging prone sniper shot. The Heavy Bowgun will be right at home with anyone not familiar with normal third-person roly dodge action games, but for people who feel more at home with shooters and building up damage to unleash a barrage of bullets from afar. Building up damage to unleash a barrage of bullets from afar. Insect Glaive. The Insect Glaive is an aerial combat-focused melee weapon that has high mobility, medium damage, and has a unique mechanic where you send out your Kinsect to gather buffs for yourself by targeting certain areas of the monster. The Insect Glaive is easy to start with and throw some attacks around, but it also has one of the highest skill ceilings in the game. Trying to keep up your weapon buffs with strategic aim of your Kinsect along with your ability to bounce around in the air to deal damage will make mastery of this weapon all that more rewarding. Looking at the Insect Glaive's damage output, we actually see something quite interesting with this weapon. We see high normal damage output, but with this weapon in particular, you have a very important job for the team, and that is mounting the monster. We see here a drop off in damage, and that is when you are actually mounted on the monster and you're dealing little to no damage, but the end goal of this is to attack the monster enough while mounted to topple it. This will lead to you and all your teammates having a huge window to lay down damage. The Insect Glaive's playstyle is hard to pin down exactly, but in my opinion it'll be right at home with anyone that liked the mounting mechanic in Dragon's Dogma that has you physically interacting with the monster. The Insect Glaive will keep you closer to the monster than any other weapon, and that's because half the time you'll be riding it. Lance. The Lance is a medium damage, high defense weapon with an odd combination of low and high mobility. Normal movement with the Lance is incredibly slow, but with strategic use of the Lance's charge, it somehow is also one of the highest mobility weapons in the game, for getting around the map at least. The Lance is all about taking on the monster head on and absorbing as much of the damage as possible while poking at the monster in the face. One of the most beneficial uses of the Lance's shield is being able to have the shield raised while still being able to attack. Combine this with an attack absorbing counter move and you can take nearly any damage head on, if your timing is right. The Lance's damage output is actually quite good for being a defensive class, and your pokes will eventually outdamage some of the other classes if you're capable of staying on the monster like glue and keeping up the harassment. You will have some damage drop-offs while shielding yourself and other players from attacks, but this is the price you pay for playing one of the most selfless roles in the game. The Lance is great for anyone that enjoys tanking in RPGs and MMOs, but also for someone capable of reading incoming attacks and timing a successful counter. You can also charge around the map all day, and that's fun too. The Bow. The bow is a high mobility, medium damage, low defense weapon that keeps you surprisingly close to the monster for a ranged weapon. Think of the bow as more of a melee weapon with range because the bow's sweet spot for damage is just barely out of reach of most monsters' swipes. This weapon has you constantly charging up your bow shots in conjunction with dodging to shorten your delay between shots. The bow provides pretty
It's really that simple, so let's move on to the... It's really that simple, so let's move on to the next skill, Constitution. This skill reduces the amount of stamina consumed by any actions that consume stamina. I specify actions because stances or modes that consume stamina, such as Demon Mode, get no effect from Constitution. What it does affect are dodges, stamina-consuming attacks, bow shots and aerial insect glaive attacks, and charging attacks. Using this, you can hit the maximum chain of Vault Dance attacks and still be close to maximum stamina with insect. Glaive. Here's a visual demonstration. Glaive. Here's a visual demonstration. Some stamina with Insect Glaive. Here's a visual demonstration. Demonstration. As an addendum to my previous skill video, this skill is incredibly useful for bow. I'd even go so far as to say it's necessary for bow if you enjoy playing with the R2 combo, as it drastically increases the number of shots you can fire. Let me show you exactly how much. Like I said, it's a big difference. Stamina Surge. This skill boosts your stamina recovery by up to 30%. It's much easier to see this than to talk numbers, so here's a demo of recovering 50 stamina from 0 with no stamina surge all the way up to maximum stamina surge. As you can see, it's a bit of a boost, but in my opinion not enough to be worth it. Save your skill slots for more effective options. Handicraft. Increases the amount of sharpness your weapon has. The real value of this skill comes from pushing weapons to the next sharpness level, particularly into white sharpness. I won't go into the detailed math of sharpness damage, that's for another video. What you need to know here is that white sharpness is a 10% damage boost over blue sharpness. Handicraft lets you get this bonus on certain weapons, notably the Diablos weapons, which stop at blue sharpness, or extends this bonus on weapons with natural white, such as the final boss weapons. Protective Polish. One of, if not the strongest skill for Blade Master weapons. Hailing from the high-rank Odogaron set, Protective Polish prevents your sharpness from decreasing for 1 minute after sharpening. It is also one of the few armor set skills that comes in decoration form, and from a 2-slot decoration at that. I really cannot emphasize how good this skill is for fast-hitting weapons like Insect Glaive and Dual Blades, but its utility goes beyond them. One of the best ways to use this skill is to maintain white sharpness on weapons with natural white. The prime example of this is the final boss weapons, which all come with just a sliver of white sharpness on them. The default white sharpness is 6 units, so you'll be back to blue very quickly. However, with Protective Polish, you can extend this 6 to as many hits as you can land in the next 60 seconds. That's insane! This skill is good on every Blade Master weapon, but is particularly good on all the fast-hitting weapons. One could argue it's not so good for slow weapons like Greatsword, but I use it with Greatsword, and it takes fewer slots than getting Handicraft 5. Pair this with Speed Sharpening 3, and you will be permanently dealing maximum damage. Razor Sharp and Spare Shot. Only available via armor set bonus, this time from the final boss armor. This skill halves your sharpness loss on hits, effectively doubling your sharpness. In past Monster Hunter games, this was a must-have skill, however it's a bit trickier to get in World. It also has a benefit to ranged users in the Spare Shot portion, which gives shots a chance to not consume ammo or coatings. It pales in comparison to Protective Polish though, so for Blade Masters that is the skill to have if possible. Master's Touch. Only available via the Teostra armor set bonus. This skill prevents your sharpness from degrading on critical hits. It synergizes very well with high crit builds. Like with Protective Polish, the benefit here is making your white sharpness last, so make sure you run enough Handicraft to hit white. Master Touch and Razor Sharp are workable if you can center a build around their respective sets. You can do this with a Blast build for Teostra, but the final boss armor is tougher, since it comes with some not so great skills. If you want to play with the final boss armor, I recommend looking at light bowgun and heavy bowgun builds as they benefit the most from it. For the Dual Blades and Insect Glaive, I recommend Stitch and Never Looking Back. And there you have it, fellow hunters. Use this information to beef up your builds, minimize the times you sharpen, and enjoy your hunts even.
What is happening, guys? Cowboy here, and welcome back to the... Like, even your dodge move, like, well, it's not technically a dodge move, but you use circle to... It's, like, considered a mobility move, and you can use it to dodge things. as you can see, already we're just doing tons and tons of damage to this guy. He's like, what the fuck is all this? So to go into the dual blades basically function around just non-stop damage. As I mentioned before, the whole gist here is that we're gonna have basically 100% uptime on our target doing damage. You'll see a little bar in the top left there by our health. That is our demon gauge, well, archdemon gauge, which now it's gone. So basically the way the blades work is that when you hit the when you hit right trigger, you go into demon mode. You go into demon mode, you get a different moveset. Oh god. Oh man. I feel bad, the city. In addition to that different moveset, you'll build up the archdemon gauge. When archdemon gauge is full, you want to exit demon mode, and then basically with the archdemon gauge full, you maintain the same moveset that you had in demon mode, but not being in demon mode. I gotta. Get you out of the fucking sky. So you can see how now the bar slowly drains as we do attacks. That's what I mean when I talk about using archdemon mode, basically. Oh shit! This is bad. This is so bad. Oh! I don't think anything's more embarrassing than poison. It's just silly. It's us look silly. The monster's like, you fainted to poison? You're the guy that's hunting me and you fainted to fucking poison? I'm like, yeah, sorry.
To everyone. For glory! Ready, lads?
Comrades, with me! Justice never dies!
Awaken, my servant. I've got you covered, lads! I told you not to mess with me! Locked and loaded to everyone.
Let's play a little game.
I need more rockets! Lads, charge! Ready, lads? Fire!
Chilly, isn't it?
Comrades, with me! At your service, my lord.
To everyone.
I am the genius ice mage, Apple.
For glory!
Ready, lads? Fire!
Chilly, isn't it?
Comrades, with me!
Chilly, isn't it? Scared now, aren't you? Make great crack. Here's a taste of my magic.
Justice has been served!
Locked and
Play a
loaded.
little game.
Death comes to everyone. Lads, charge! Die! Ready, lads? Fire!
Comrades, with me!
I've got you covered, lads.
We have defeated an enemy legion. Justice has been served! To battle!
Hope is eternal.
For Silverwing! Men, show them the will of Silverwing! Archers, attack!